This is a parkour maze, and if the players make it to the end, they will be able to double any amount of money they put in. But the thing is, it's entirely impossible. But how? Basically, we're gonna use flowers to kill people. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, how are we going to use flowers to kill someone? Well, you see, Minecraft has this item called Suspicious Stew. It's basically like a gamble food. If you choose to eat it, you can get a random effect like blindness, saturation, or even poison or wither. While they usually randomly spawn in loot chests found in villages or shipwrecks, you can actually craft them as well. And when you craft them, depending on which flower you use, you can preload an effect onto it. I think you can see where I'm going with this. So the plan was that we would get a variety of flowers to make different types of stew to give different effects. However, we would rig the competition by making it so that the deadly ones would be given at the end, ensuring death from poison or wither. Okay, so I'm looking for a droopy white flower. Yes, flower picking. The reason why I was looking for a droopy white flower was because that specific one gave the poison effect. I like to frolic in the flower fields. I also fetched some other flowers too while Pulse and I discussed the game plan.
If we make the entire first one saturation or something good, then basically we convinced them, Tyrad, that it's all fine and dandy.
Let's just say I ended up with way more flowers than needed, but hey, at least more is better than less. I headed back to spawn where Pulse and I got started on building the race area. Except I have some of the most annoying friends imaginable. We should get to business, Mr. Pulseman. Actually, I don't have enough.
Yeah, I think you guys should get to business.
But back to business, we continued to landscape, but then I had to log off for the night. The next day, we got back to work. How much space were you clearing out? Because I don't know if this is going to be much larger than a football field on a Friday night.
What do you mean by that?
Once the landscape was cleared, I got a shears and started to gather tons of leaves to use as the walls of the race. The best part about the leaves is that they look really harmless, so that people are like, ooh. I then gathered the materials necessary to make the stew dispensers for the end of the race.
I want you to pretend that you have half a heart and no armor, okay?
And then we tested it out with an arrow. Wow. And it worked exactly how we would have expected. And so we built the second one for the other contestant. With that out of the way, we begun a search for mushrooms. This was also necessary to craft the stew, along with the flowers we also got. And the nether happened to have both brown and red, which was perfect. While I did find some early on, the rest were not as easy. But then this happened. What are we holding on? I was in a really bad situation. I need help. I am in a bad situation right now. I'm in a really bad situation. But I realized I was recording replay mod, which is basically a mod that is usually used for cinematic shots and whatnot. So
how did you mess up that bad? That's my question.
I don't know. But in this case, I was able to go in and find exactly where I fell in the lava. This would be crucial to know where I logged and thus save me from the depths of hell. Issue is we couldn't use a fire resistance potion, but Pulsify had a plan. What some people may not know about Minecraft is that you can use doors to create a pocket of air in any liquid, even lava. And by using this simple trick, Pulsify was able to make a space for me to swim down into. Only problem now is that we needed to get out from under the lava. Oh. Yeah. Luckily, it didn't take too long and we could now finally get back on track. We decided to continue with the race and start setting up little quote-unquote traps along the way to the finish line like a lava pit. And some deadly parkour above dripstone. No! Perhaps they were a tad too deadly. Anyways, we did the exact same thing with the other side. The first part of the race would be a mini maze which we designed. A small what?
Maze.
A what? A base? But really the whole point of all of these little parts were to make the game seem real and possible, when really it wasn't, and instead a clever trick to kill some random people on the server and get some more hearts. Because we're really good people. With the race area pretty much good to go, we kinda had to put off getting mushrooms because for some reason we literally couldn't find any. I guess this world just hates us.
I can't plant it. What?
While we did have some mushrooms, for some reason we found out that you couldn't grow them in the nether using bone meal. Apparently, according to the Minecraft wiki, we needed podzol, which are only found in bamboo jungles, and they are actually quite rare. There is a huge jungle. If you go south of our location, this is near where you were burning down the jungle. Bro was burning down a whole ecosystem because he didn't like it. Oh, let's go, baby. Well, that was actually pretty easy. So we grew some and got a ton of brown mushrooms, ending up with over a stack. We had gotten all we needed. So we headed back to base, and since it was pretty late, we both headed out for the night. The next morning, we got on and realized something that we probably should have thought about before. Does the poison from suspicious stew actually do a lot of damage? Well, after testing it out in a creative world, short answer is it didn't. And because of the saturation you got from eating the stew, you would generate most if not all of your hearts lost from the poison. This was a terrible realization. And to rub even more salt into the wounds, you couldn't just chug stew after stew because the saturation you got from eating won. So in an effort to try to salvage this, we decided to extend the maze a bit more and add a section where the players would have to jump down a hole to keep going. This of course would cause them to take some fall damage.
Oh my god, that did like 7 Rs.
At this point, we were trying so hard to try to get the person low enough so that when they would eat the stew at the end, they would die from the poison.
Wait, so it's 8 blocks down. Well, but okay, so the hole should be but like right around the corners, like right here?
But we were overcomplicating it so much that this whole scheme was starting to become more about the actual setup than the stew. So we knew we had to come up with a better way to execute this. And so with our heads hanging low, I thought we had lost all hope. Until Pulsify said this.
If there's like a way to edit the effects of stew.
Wait, are you saying that we can go into the files and edit what Suspicious Stew does?
Basically, that's, yeah.
While this may have seemed far-fetched, it definitely seemed possible. But this presented a whole slew of issues. How would we change or amplify the effects of the stew? And more importantly, how would we convince the SMP owner to allow us to basically change the files of the server? But Pulse found a plugin that allowed us to do just what we wanted. However, what we didn't expect was how long it would take to figure out. And only about 2 hours later, Pulse was able to figure out a prototype. Of course, this wasn't Suspicious Stew, but Mushroom Stew. Even though I had to go for now, Pulse was able to stay on and still try to get things sorted. Oh, and not to be shameless, but we're trying to reach 50,000 by the end of the year, so it would mean a lot if you could subscribe. Anyways, back to the video. And with enough patience, we had finally gotten something along the lines of what we were looking for.
Oh my god. Oh,
oh my gosh. And then we hit them like, or an arrow hits. It had finally worked. The first step was done, but now we needed to get the owner to actually install our great plugin. And to put it simply, we decided we would have to do a bit of lying. We disguised the plugin as a cool game enhancer that added a special surprise for the players on the server, so that the owner wouldn't suspect anything.
Hey guys, I just woke up from a coma.
While this may seem impossible, Pulse was actually the owner of the server this whole time, so none of that was necessary. Woohoo, let's go, nice. The plan was quite simple. By using the various ingredients we gathered earlier on, we would make a series of normal, suspicious stew and place them at different checkpoints in the race. The players would have to stop and thus eat the stew and keep going until they reach the end. And once they do, we would give them the totally not super deadly stew at the end as a prize, and they would subsequently eat it and get really low. We can then hit them literally once and they would die. For the race, we decided to get 2 players, Nicey and Manclofio, to participate. Little did they know this would be their inevitable demise.
3, 2, 1, go!
Go!
We just take one, alright?
Well, you just take one, eat it, and then you continue running. Oh wow, Manclofio's just
Manclofio.
weekly. I don't know how to say name. Okay, watch out. This next bit's hard.
I think I got regen.
Oh, watch out, watch out!
Oh!
Oh, you made it to the end! Okay, drop the stew, drop the stew.
Wait, why are there so many potion effects?
Oh!
While the winner, Manclofio, was the only one that died, we decided to go for another round. This time, of course, we increased the difficulty and the stakes.
Next person to win this round, stack of diamonds. 3, 2, 1.
Bruh.
How do I get out of here?
Manclofio won and died again, but the real person we wanted dead was Nicey, because as you may have seen, he was a lot more stacked. And after giving him another stew...
Wait.
Hey, hey Nicey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
We did it!
That went absolutely perfectly. And here's a video of how I was able to break a public LifeSteal SMP's economy. Subscribe.